العلم أشراف مطلوب وطالبه لله أكرام من يمشي على قدمه. العلم نور مبين يستضيء به أهل السعادات والجهال في الظلم.
طيب, the next mas'ala is Hajj. We've established that it is what's the ruling of Hajj. طيب, that wajib, the scholars talk about a mas'ala which is it wajib ala al-fawr, is it wajib immediately, or ala al-tarahi, or the person doesn't have to do it immediately? Which one do you think? The sort of mas'ala, the mas'ala I'm talking about is Hajj. We've established that it is wajib. طيب, the scholars say, is it wajib ala al-fawr? Is it wajib immediately? So as soon as a person is able to perform Hajj, they have to go and perform Hajj. Or if they, meaning obviously they're sinful if they don't perform Hajj. Or do we say that it's wajib, like it is not wajib immediately, meaning if you've got the means to perform Hajj and you don't perform Hajj, then you're not blameworthy, you're not sinning. Which of the two do you think is correct? Which is immediately? If you have the means. Okay. Does anyone?
I would say the first one, but I have a question for the second one, just to
Go on.
You know, the second one, what's the qadr of it? Because if it's not fawran, what's the
Ala tarahi, there's no limit, whenever you feel like it, whenever you want.
The qadr could go away if you get it.
That's the whole point. That's the mas'ala we're talking about. Yes, the first one, Now, it is wajib as soon as a person gets the ability to perform. Why? Firstly, the Messenger ﷺ said, فَحُجُّوا. Also, Allah Jalla wa Ala وَلِلَّهِ عَلَى النَّاسِ عَلَى النَّاسِ. So, any wajib, any command in the Quran or the Sunnah, the scholars say that you feed الأمر الوجوب مطلقا. الأمر مطلقا. It is a command which is unrestricted, and every unrestricted command in the Sharia is على الفور, you have to do it immediately. And the scholars of Usul al-Fiqh, they mention examples. So they say, for example, if a person has got a slave, if a master owns a slave, and they say to their slave, go and do this, buy this for me, buy this from Suq. And then the abd says, طيب, takes the money, puts it in his pocket, and he stays at home all day. Will it be said that he has done the wajib? He has done what was expected of Allah. طيب, مثلا, if a father says to his child, go to the shop and buy milk. Child takes the money, puts it in his pocket, carries on playing or doing other things. Can it be said that that child has done what was expected of him and commanded of him? No. So a command necessitates that you do it immediately, number one. Also, وَسَارِعُوا إِلَى مَغْفِرَةٍ مِّن رَبِّكُمْ. Secondly, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and rush towards the forgiveness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَكَانُوا يُسَارِعُونَ فِي الْخَيْرَاتِ يَدْعُونَنَا رَغَبًا وَرَهَبًا. When Allah Jalla wa Ala was talking about the Anbiya of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they used to hasten towards good deeds. Also, a person doesn't know what will become of him tomorrow. They could die in a minute. Or the means that they have today to perform Hajj, they may not be able to perform Hajj tomorrow or next year. And even nowadays, Hajj, for example, even from a financial point of view, it's getting more and more expensive. Every single year it's getting expensive. So Hajj, not too long ago, maybe just 10 years ago, 12 years ago, it was about 1,500. Now it's about 5,000. There's contrast, you can tell that there's quite a bit. Maybe 5 years' time, it will be about 11,000. So it's getting more and more. So you don't know when you're going to have the ability like you have now. So if you've got the ability, then it is a must to go and do now. In the Muqaddimah we said that Hajj was made wajib when? And the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said what? The Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam did it in the 10th year. Does that not show that Hajj is not wajib immediately? Or you're saying, the fuqaha of al-Ihtisam are saying that you have to perform Hajj immediately. But the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam did not perform Hajj immediately. So you saying the Messenger did not do that which was best for the
Didn't there was something to do with the Treaty of Hudaybiyah and Abu Bakr was sentenced then?
True, the Hudaybiyah was done in the 6th or 7th year. Hudaybiyah.
When it was revealed in the 9th year, just after the time, so the first Hajj could do with it, the one in the 10th year.
La, 9th year, and he was able to do Hajj.
Did the Prophet not have the means to do it?
He didn't have the means, financially wasn't able.
Did he make an agreement with Quraysh?
That he wouldn't perform Hajj? La.
Was it the months? Remember at the beginning you said it was in the months. There's 4 months. Was the months, did it not fall in line with the months?
When did you say that?
Because before you said that in summary, Shawwal,
It has to be certain
Hijjah,
times.
it has to be certain times.
One of the, some along those lines. Yeah. They mentioned several reasons, the scholars. Firstly, during the 9th year, the mushrikun, they used to come to the Hajj. They used to perform Hajj, the mushrikun. Right? And they used to perform the Hajj whilst they were naked. So the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam sent Abu Bakr and then sent Ali after him to let them know that after this year no mushrikeen will come and perform Hajj. So they say to purify the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But also they say that the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam that year was busy with that year was the Aam al-Wufud, when the Christians of Najran would come to the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and other people would come to the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he was busy in delegations and meetings and arrangements with them, so he couldn't perform Hajj. Right. Also, the issue of the months, Quraysh, they used to change the months around. So they used to change, extend the months of Hajj and change and move them around. So on the year that Hajj was on the 9th year, it did not fall in the month of the Hijjah, because they would move these months of the Hijjah, these months of the sacred months, as they wished, because there were certain things they couldn't do during the sacred months, and they kill each other and so on. So in order to fit their calendar and suit and their desires, they would change the months. So in that specific year, the scholars say that it didn't fall onto the Hajj. So the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam wanted to make sure that his Hajj was in the Hajj. Lakin ala kullin, there are ta'wilat, there are some explanations that the scholars mention. So ala kulli hal, Hajj is wajib upon every single Muslim. So as soon as you get the means, from that moment onwards, if you don't go to Hajj, then you are sinning. We shall see the conditions for Hajj. The next point, the hukum of Umrah. If we said Hajj is wajib, then what is the ruling on Umrah? The scholars say that Umrah, there's the same khilaf, lakin it is sunnah and it is not wajib, and all of those hadith they say that show that it is wajib, then they are not authentic. طيب. وَالِاسْتِطَاعَةُ أَعْظَمُ شُرُوطِهِ, and ability to perform Hajj is from the greatest and most important conditions of it. وَهِيَ مُلْكُ الزَّادِ وَالرَّاحِلَةِ, it is possessing and having the provisions, food and drink, وَالرَّاحِلَةِ, and the transportation to go to Hajj. بَعْدَ ضَرُورَاتِ الْإِنسَانِ وَحَوَائِجِهِ الْأَصْلِيَّةِ, after the darurat, the basic necessities of a person and his basic needs. After having possessed this, anything over, that's when we look at if a person is able to perform Hajj or not. طيب. Al-istita'a is a condition for every single ibadah. Allah Jalla wa Ala says, فَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ مَا اسْتَطَعْتُمْ. So firstly you have to know that al-istita'a is a condition for every single ibadah. Lakin, however, every single ibadah has its own kind of ability that you have to perform. So for example, istita'a is wajib for salah, صح? And istita'a is wajib for hajj. Lakin the two istita'as, the two abilities are not the same. So the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, صلي قائما, pray standing. فإن لم تستطع فقاعدا. فإن لم تستطع فعلى جنب. If you are able to stand, then if you are able to pray standing, then stand. If you are not able to stand, then sit down. If you are not able to sit down, then lie down. Like Siyam, fasting has ability. If a person is able to fast, meaning they're well, they're not traveling and they're not ill and so on. نعم, so every ibadah has istita'a. Lakin with Hajj, Allah Jalla wa Ala specified, وَلِلَّهِ عَلَى النَّاسِ حِجُّ الْبَيْتِ مَنِ اسْتَطَاعَ إِلَيْهِ سَبِيلًا, specified the istita'a and the ability because it is one of the most important conditions for Hajj to be wajib upon the person. It is one of the most important conditions for Hajj to be wajib. And as the Shaykh said, rahimahullah ta'ala, rahmatan wasi'ah, it is that a person has enough provisions for himself and those people that he is responsible for. He has enough wealth for himself and those who he is responsible for, and the money that he has is over his basic necessities, his basic needs. For example, if he requires مثلا £1,000 for him and his family every month, and he is now in Ramadan and he has مثلا £10,000 in his bank, it can be said that this person has the financial means to perform Hajj. Why? Because Ramadan, what's the next month? Shawwal. So Ramadan 1,000 because he needs 1,000. Shawwal 1,000. Dhul Qa'dah 3,000, and Dhul Hijjah 4,000. So he's got his basic needs out of the way. The basic financial needs out of the way. Anything over that shows that or anything that he has over that amount shows that he can perform Hajj financially. But also the Shaykh says وَرَاحِلَةً, and he needs to have means of transportation. So he has to be able to so when the fuqaha are talking about transportation, back in those days, it's camels or horses or whatever form of transport they would use. Like in the form of transport that applies to us today is mainly by sea, by air, or by traveling via car. So for example, those countries that are nearby to Mecca, in the Khalij, they can travel by car. And even within the Mamlaka itself, they can drive down to, people from Riyadh, it takes them about 10 hours to drive down to Mecca, but they can drive down. Or they can take a plane. So if a person is able to pay financially for the ticket, that is what is meant by rahila. And if they're able to pay for the ticket to travel to Mecca and back, to travel to Mecca and back. And also if they've got enough means to provide for themselves when they're in Mecca as well. Right. With regards to istita'a, the people are four types. The people are four types. And in general, if you're ever in a lesson and the teacher says this has conditions or 5 conditions or so on, or the people are 4 types or the groups are 4 types, always make sure you write these down. The first is مَنْ كَانَ قَادِرًا بِمَالِهِ وَبَدَنِهِ. The person who is able, he has the ability, بِمَالِهِ وَبَدَنِهِ. He has the financial ability and he has the physical ability. He has the physical ability to perform Hajj. So he's healthy, fit, and he has the financial means. That individual, يجب عليه الحج. It is wajib that he goes to Hajj himself. It is wajib that he goes to Hajj himself. Meaning he cannot say to someone, I'm going to pay for your Hajj, your expenses, please perform Hajj on my behalf. He can't say that. Because he has the ability to perform Hajj himself. Just like you can't pay someone to fast on his behalf, and you can't pay someone to perform Hajj on your behalf if you've got the ability to perform Hajj. طيب. The second is من كان عاجزا بنفسه وماله. The one who is physically not able to go to Hajj, and financially as well, he's not able to perform Hajj. فهذا لا يجب عليه الحج. So for that individual, Hajj is not wajib upon. Hajj is not wajib upon. طيب, so you've understood these two, صح? There are two others. What do you think they are?
One that has one of them, one that doesn't have them.
نعم, the تقسيم العقلي, that's how it's going to be. So the person that has the financial means, but physically he is not able to go. He has the financial means, but physically he cannot go. What should we say about this individual?
He stands on his bar.
Okay,
Depends if the physical thing is chronicle or
1 second, Adam.
Is it like a terminal or is it
Excellent. Abdullah and Adam, jazakumullah khair. You don't just say, for example, illness for fasting. Someone says to you, I'm ill. Do you just say, okay, you can't fast the whole month for Ramadan, send your fidya. Feed 30 masakin. No. The illness is of two types in fasting, sah? Siyam. Likewise, when we're talking about Hajj, the illness or the lack of ability to perform is of two types. مثلا, someone breaks his leg in Shawwal, yani breaks his leg, are they able to perform Hajj a month later or 2 months later? Huh? No. They're not going to be able to perform. You break your leg, you won't. No. If someone breaks their leg, they will find it extremely difficult to perform Hajj. Well, let's say that they get into a car crash, to get out of the khilaf, they have a car crash. You have to go to extreme measures. They have a car crash, right? And they spend a month in coma, Hamza. Right? After spending a month in coma, they come out, Dhul Qa'dah. Next month is Hajj. It's about 35 days till Hajj. They're not going to be able to perform Hajj physically. But they don't have life-threatening injuries or life-changing injuries, so they can fully recover. That individual, although he's not physically able to perform Hajj this year, but he has the financial means, he cannot allocate someone to perform Hajj on his behalf. Why is that? Because he can go in the future. Just like when we were talking about fasting, we differentiated between what? A terminal illness, and someone we expect to get better, and someone we don't expect to get better. So for example, food poisoning, a person has it for about 24 hours, max 48 hours, and then they get better. That person, can we allow them to feed a poor person for those 2-3 days they missed? No. What about if a person has diabetes, any of the types, and they can't fast? Is that something that they're going to become well, or they're going to get cured within 24 hours or 48 hours? No. So for that person, they're allowed to what? No, they're allowed to feed the poor person for every day that they miss. So likewise with the Hajj. But the second type is a person who physically is paralyzed, they can't go to Hajj. This year, next year, 10 years time, unless Allah Jalla wa Ala cures them. Like in the norm is that that person will not be cured. What should that person do? Pay someone, Hajj al-Badal they call it, pay someone to perform Hajj on his behalf. Pay someone to perform Hajj on his behalf. And the last is what? The last person in terms of ability is what?
physical but not
Someone who is healthy, physically fit, like he doesn't have the financial means to perform Hajj. What should they do? Is it wajib upon them to perform Hajj? No, it is not wajib upon them to perform Hajj. بعد ضرورات الإنسان وحوائجه. طيب, also with regards to the rahila transportation, that's obviously if a person doesn't live in Mecca or the surrounding areas. If a person lives in Mecca and surrounding areas, he can't say I can't take a plane to Muzdalifah, or I can't take a plane to Mecca, or I need a car. If it's close distance to Mecca, if they live in Mecca or the surrounding areas, then transportation is not a condition for them. Transportation is not a condition for them. طيب, the next مسألة the Shaykh says رحمه الله, ومن استطاعة and from ability أن يكون للمرأة, that the woman has محرم, someone who is a mahram. إذا احتاجت إلى محرم, if she needs a mahram. طيب, the Shaykh says the condition, let's understand mutton first. The Shaykh says أن يكون للمرأة, that the woman has a mahram if she needs a mahram. Does that not contradict?
Can you repeat that, please?
The Shaykh said ومن الاستطاعة, and from استطاعة, أن يكون للمرأة, that the woman has a mahram. إذا احتاجت إلى محرم, if she needs a mahram.
الشيخ جزاك الله خير تسمعون إذا احتاجت لسفر.
إذا احتاجت إلى سفر. طيب. What does you want to say?
Is it someone in Makkah?
نعم. إذا احتاجت, if she needs to travel. Like if she lives 20 minutes from the Kaaba, she's not going to say I need a mahram. Why? Because she's traveling. Because this woman is traveling into Makkah. The Shaykh says أن يكون للمرأة محرم, that she has a mahram. طيب, that she has a mahram. المحرم is كل من يحرم عليه نكاحها. كل من يحرم عليه نكاحها. Every individual that is wajib, that is haram for him to marry her, على التأبيد, permanently. بنسب, due to قرابة, kinship, family ties, أو رضاع, برضاع, having been breastfed by the same woman, أو مصاهرة, or by way of marriage. By way of marriage. Yeah, طيب. So firstly, there's two masail that we need to know here. The ruling of the mahram, or who is a mahram. So he says to us that women need a mahram. We need to establish who is a mahram for the woman, and we need to establish the dalil, the evidence for this. Firstly, the mahram is every single person that is haram for her to marry, and it is haram for him to marry her. على التأبيد, permanently, يعني he at no stage of his life or her life can he marry her. مثلا can a woman marry her brother-in-law? Huh?
Yeah.
مثلا, can she marry her brother-in-law, her husband's brother? Can she marry him?
Yes.
Subhanallah, كيف يعني he's going to be married to two sisters, she's going to be married to two brothers?
When she died, when the guy is dead, or she divorced the person.
Huh? Go on, work with me here, come on, she can't always, we've established that she can't be married to both. Right. Go on.
If she's a widow.
If she's a widow, or if he divorces her. So can we say ala wajh ta'bid, she's permanently not allowed to marry him? La. Yes, at that particular moment she's not allowed to marry him, lakin not permanently. That man can divorce he can divorce her, and sometime after she finishes her iddah, she can get married to this individual, her brother-in-law. طيب. So her brother-in-law can't be her mahram for Safar Hajj. طيب. على التأبيد بنسب, due to qaraba, kinship, brother, father, so on, son, uncle. طيب. That's who comes under nasab. Or rada', someone who a woman has given birth to, given rada' to, she's breastfeeding more than 5 times when he was a baby. That's his mother in rada'. Also, her daughters, he can't obviously marry because that's his sisters in rada'. So he is now their what? Mahram. He is now their mahram. Or musahara, by way of marriage. How? A woman, her father-in-law, her husband's father, and the ta'bid, he is now her father. He is now her father. Or a woman, her son-in-law, her daughter's husband, never is he allowed to marry her again. As soon as the aqd happens, never is he allowed to marry her again. Right. Therefore, he can be her mahram. So the mahram is anyone that it is permanently haram for this woman to marry. Whether it's via relations, family relations, blood ties, like her son, her father, her brother, uncle, paternal, maternal uncle, or a rada', someone who she was breastfed with, or someone who, a woman that's the son that her child that she has breastfed and so on, or the aunties because of the breastfeeding and so on, or by musahara, by way of marriage, like in this musahara has to be from the usul, مثلا the father or the son, like in the brother-in-law, it doesn't come under this. Like, there's a masala that we need to differentiate here, which is the wali and the mahram. What's the difference between a wali and a mahram? Or is there a difference? Is there a difference between a wali and a mahram? Quickly.
The wali is not always a mahram.
The wali is not always a mahram? Like, so her father can be her wali, but he's not allowed to go with her when traveling.
I think it's the other way around here.
Accent. نعم. طيب. كل ولي محرم وليس كل محرم وليا أو يكون وليا. So every wali is a mahram. لا عكس لا don't even say don't write it as a qaida, because the wali can be from the asr, it can be her cousin if she doesn't have any close relatives and he's not her mahram. Like, the difference is that the wali in most cases is her mahram. Her father, her son, her brother can be her mahram and a wali at the same time. The two don't necessitate one another. Like, the mahram doesn't necessarily become a wali. So for example, مثلا the father of a woman's husband, her father-in-law, he's her mahram now, صح? She doesn't have to wear the hijab in front of him. Lakin, can he give her away in marriage? No, he can't. He can't give her away in marriage. The son of a woman, rada'a, he can be her mahram because she breastfed him when he was a child. Can he give her away in marriage? No. Can he give her daughters away, which are his sisters? No. Why is that? Because the connection between them is connection of mahramiyya and not wilaya. طيب, so that's the first mas'ala. We've just got 2 or 3 masail and then we'll go into the questions. Right. So that's who the mahram is. And I stress that because it's important for the woman to know who her mahram is or who can be a mahram. Right. Secondly, what is the dalil for this? The Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, وَلَا تُسَافِرَنَّ امْرَأَةٌ إِلَّا وَمَعَهَا مَحْرَمٌ. A woman is not allowed to travel except with a mahram. So when she's traveling, she has to have a mahram. And Hajj, if she has to travel to Hajj, then that is technically what? Traveling. Therefore she needs a mahram. Whether she's traveling by plane, bus, train, car, whether she's traveling with a group of other women, whether she's traveling in a safe environment, in all of these instances it becomes wajib for her to have a mahram. So we can't say, for example, she's in a group of women, there's about 20 of them, and they can defend themselves, and they're going on the plane, and as soon as she gets from Heathrow, she gets off at Jeddah, there's nothing that can happen possibly in the air, just one place to another. Therefore there's no fear in terms of security. It's not in the past where they were highway robbers and so on. So because of that, she can get on a plane here, get off in Jeddah, and alhamdulillah, that's it. La. Nor can we say even if she's with a group of men. مثلا الآن, simple example, there are sisters on your left hand side. Right. If you're traveling with these sisters and there's a group of you and they're traveling far, no doubt they'll feel safe. It's about 20 of you. So they will what? Feel safe. So there's no fear that someone will attack them. If they attack you, then they've attacked you as a group. So, but they're not going to specifically attack them, sah? So they feel protected. Lillahi alhamd. However, that is not the condition for a woman traveling, that she goes with a group of people. So the Messenger specified the woman that it is not permissible. Another hadith that is not permissible for a woman that believes in Allah and Yawm al-Qiyamah, that she travels the distance of a day and night without mahram. So the issue of having a mahram is wajib. If she doesn't have a mahram, then Hajj is not wajib upon her. If she doesn't have a mahram, then Hajj is not wajib upon her. Right. What about if she does perform Hajj without a mahram? What's the ruling on her Hajj?
She's sinning, but it's still accepted.
She's sinning, but her Hajj is accepted. Okay, that's one qawl. Anyone else?
It's not accepted.
It's not accepted. Right. That's another qawl.
I can agree with that.
That it's accepted, but she's sinning.
No, I don't believe she's in it.
So your third opinion then, you're saying she's tamam, she's okay. She's not even sinning. Three aqwal, there's three opinions.
Can I give my reason?
Give me a reason, of course.
Because the second hadith, you said the day and night, the distance of day and night. If she
Leave that hadith alone. Let's سافرن امرأة is not permissible for امرأة to travel general إلا ومعها محرم, except that she has a mahram.
زي شرط صحة. زي شرط صحة. الشرط.
Okay, we'll get to that in a second.
What distance is she traveling?
Just traveling. The Messenger said, ولا تسافرن امرأة. Let's say she's traveling from here to, where can we perform Hajj to anyway? Kabul?
Yeah, but where's she traveling in from, I think is his question.
From, you mean?
Yeah.
London, yani she's our neighbour. She can perform. Before that, who remembers a similar mas'ala in Kitab al-Tahara and in Kitab al-Salah? Let's connect ourselves to what we've learned.
Is it if you miss a in salah, if you miss a wajib, يصح الصلاة. Oh, sorry, yeah, if you miss a pillar.
لا. Because you amended it with sujood sahwi in that case. There's the importance of muraja'a, revising.
Can you give a clue?
No, I've given a clue. I said it's Kitab al-Tahara and Kitab al-Salah.
She left the condition then.
Okay.
One has to be there before the action before
The
that.
sisters, any ones before the action? Okay.
For to be accepted.
Let's
To be there. before.
Okay. Let's see if the sisters. I'll bet the sisters know. Go on. Sisters, any clue?
If a person has a stolen phone,
Fantastic. I knew they'd get it. If they're praying in a stolen thobe, don't look at me like you're amazed. If they're praying in a stolen thobe, such as we studied in Kitab al-Salah. Stolen thobe, or in Kitab al-Tahara, stolen water. Stolen water, stolen land, and so on. What did we say back then? Is what? Yasih, the act is correct, but the person is sinning. Right. The reason why I said it's important to connect ourselves is because you follow the same qa'idah throughout. So in Kitab al-Hajj, it's same. Because if she goes to Hajj, she's left out this condition. Like in these conditions are different, and we shall see the different types of conditions. Mahram is a condition for it to be wajib, but not a condition for it to be accepted and sound. Right. And that leads us to the last mas'ala, which is